We are glad to see you back, our friends. Welcome to our series of lectures on how to prepare for IELTS exam by TOPjargan Educational Center. Let's start. Lesson number 3, reading skills, scanning and skimming. Today we will be talking about in details two most important skills which help us to get very good score on IELTS reading. They are scanning and skimming. So let's have a look in details. Let's start with scanning. So scanning, it's actually looking for particular information in the text. They can be like dates, names, some words, I don't know, adjectives, verbs, adverbs, and so on. That's very important skill. You have to train it. You have to train this muscle in your cognitive abilities. They don't come by itself. Don't take it for granted. Like, train it. Here's our advice and our recommendations how we train ourselves. Me myself, when I see a tag, for example, this paragraph in my head, I can just split it. Some people split it like vertically. I usually split it horizontally into like small parts from 4 or 5 lines, and I just like in my head quickly scan it for particular words I need. But you can also like split it like this. Sometimes it also works, and as you can see here, you have like this kind of tiny rectangles of text, and you just I don't scan like this. I more like scan like this. If I see the proper word, I stop and I continue reading it. So train it like this, okay? Here's a ready exercise which you can do by yourself, but you need a partner, your body. The exercise itself is like this. So you split the text, right? And other person tell you a word which you need to find. For example, it's civilization. It's here, over here. But they just tell you, and you need to find it in the text. Once you find it, you say, okay, it's the third paragraph, first line. And then you change the rows. You say, like, machinery. And next person has to do the same. Once they find the word, they say where it's like actually situated, like second paragraph and second line. It's very useful exercise. You can set a time limit, or you can do it just with your own pace. It's totally fine. You can be you can be creative in this kind of approach, but that's the main exercise which help you to develop the scanning skills. Why it's important? Because we have limited amount of time on doing this reading tasks, and we need to develop the skill of finding proper information in a very efficient way. Now let's have a look at the skimming skill. So skimming, it's actually just going through the whole text and getting the main idea. So it's literally reading either like a very fast line by line, or reading through the diagonal, something like that. It doesn't matter. You can do it in the way you like it, which is more convenient. But the main idea is you have to understand where is the main information. Usually it's somewhere in the beginning or in the end of the paragraph, because when others or people write a text, they start with some idea and finalize their idea. But it's not always like that, so keep it in mind that you have to go probably the whole paragraph in general, but try to understand the whole text. We will give you a couple of advice. So first, highlight the linking phrases you see first. Second, um, like in other words, and so on. So they give you understanding the flow of thoughts of an author. And another advice, try to pay attention to punctuation marks like commas, periods. In this text, we have dash because they also help you to structure the ideas. Usually when we have commas or a dash, it's like developing like the main idea. It's giving you extra information and so on. So let's have a the following. Let's do together the skimming task. So let's read the text together. So in discussing whether we are alone, most SETI scientists adopt two ground rules. First, UFOs are generally ignored since most scientists don't consider the evidence for them to be strong enough to bear serious consideration. Although it's also important to keep an open mind in case any really convincing evidence emerges in the future. As you can see here, we have information which are in brackets. Probably it's not the most important information in the paragraph, but anyway, we went through. Here we have the main information, which like we adopt two ground rules. So this is the first rule, and this is the second one. And the first rule is just about we ignore evidence about UFOs. And the second rule is like we make conservative assumption that we are looking for a life form that pretty well like us. That's it. Second is like life forms we are looking for. They are pretty like us. That's actually it. We have two rules, first, second, and everything else. In other words, it's just paraphrasing, it's adding extra information, it's just giving us literally unnecessary information. Maybe it's like necessary for other types of problems, but for skimming, we got the main idea. Now let's have a look how it might help us to answer the questions. Okay, headings, headings. The most difficult, actually, type of questions, in my opinion. So we know that this paragraph is about two rules which adopt scientists when looking for unidentified flying objects. It's like first rule, it's like second rule, and they adopt it, yeah? They are kind of approach. So we know it from skimming. Now, if we have a look at the list of headings we have, let's go over them. Seeking the transmission of radio signals. Do we have any information about radio signals? Probably no. Appropriate responses to signals from other civilizations. Do we have information about? No. Distances? No. Assumptions underlying the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. That might be the answer because assumptions, it's the synonym of adoption, like two rules. It's like assumption underlying search for extraterrestrial intelligence. The extraterrestrial intelligence, that's the synonym of literally like aliens, right? Like identifying flying objects. So this is like perfect matching. That's why number 4 will be answer for this paragraph. That's the example how you practice by yourself when you do like scanning and skimming and how it helps you to answer proper questions, okay? Okay, now let's move on. You remember in last lessons we were talking about like simultaneous approach. The approach where you start several questions at once. So here we have like the first type of question, headings. Okay, we started doing it and we answered the question. Then you can also start answering like this two like type of question, like yes, no, not given. Maybe this paragraph, which we have read just, can give us extra information about like next questions, yeah? So we advise you to start several categories of questions at once. Let's read together. 21. Yes, no, not given. Alien civilizations may be able to help the human race to overcome serious problems. Do we have this kind of information in our previous paragraph? Probably no. You can stop the video and like go back and have a look again. Let's read question number 22. SETI scientists are trying to find a life form that resembles human in many ways. Okay, that might be the question we can answer because resembles humans in many ways. It might be this one, second one, because life forms pretty well like us. It seems like yes. Yeah, the answer is yes. Let's read further. Since if it differs radically from us, we may well not recognize it as a life form, quite apart from whether we are able to communicate with it. In other words, the life form we are looking for may well have two green heads, seven fingers. It will nevertheless resemble us. Okay, resemble us. But there was a key idea: in many ways. Do we have many ways here or not? So should communicate with its fellows. First, be interested in the universe. Second, live on a planet orbiting a star like our sun. Third, and perhaps most restrictively, have a chemistry like us. Fourth, yeah, we have actually many ways of resemblance. So that's a confirmation for answer for question 22, and the answer is yes. Okay, so that's how we work with like different types of questions and how scanning and skimming help us in this journey. Um, that's pretty much for our lesson. See you during our next classes where we'll be talking about further IELTS reading techniques. Thank you for joining and good luck. Goodbye. Goodbye.